Bonjour, Rog fans. Today we're Rog ranting about something quite interesting. We are asking ourselves the question, when did we become slaves? The Roger was looking at something on the UK government website which was talking about legalised slavery at the bottom of the screen. And it was talking about something completely different to what I thought it was talking about. And I thought, but when did slavery become legalised anyway? Because think about it. In the Western world especially, we're taken away from our parents at a very early age to put into indoctrination centres to be taught what the state thinks is the right and wrong way to act. And then as we go through our development, we're moved into more advanced centres of indoctrination where we're told what to believe, what to think and how to act to suit the state. And then it very quickly becomes moving away from what the state, the political body, wants us to be like, to what the commercial body wants us to be like. And by the time we get into our teenage years, we've been groomed about techniques and knowledge that we need to know to be good servants for businesses. Not human beings, not society, business. Yeah? And then we're told, and all the way we're going through school, our parents will ask us questions, and teachers, indoctrinators will ask us questions such as, what do you want to be when you leave school? And it's not the question the child thinks it is. So the child answers it as though it was a genuine, non-loaded question and says, I'd like to be an astronaut, I'd like to be a painter, I'd like to go around the world, I'd like to be a fish. No. That's not the question. The question actually is, what would you like to waste the next 50 years of your life doing as a slave to a business? That's the question. And they have careers officers, yeah? Don't they? In some schools, they even have careers officers. What avenue of slavery, of legalised slavery, are you going to go into when you leave? Yeah? A tiny, tiny majority of people are slaves. And they're the ones who control everything. Yeah, even if you become a slave, but you become a politician, if you get high enough, you're less of a slave than everybody else. You certainly have less financial burdens because you take everything you need from the taxpayer, from the slaves, the masses. So when did we think this was a good idea? When was it that we thought that losing 50 years of our life to do things that we don't like to make somebody else rich, so we can live in poverty on a crap state pension, is actually an existence worthy of a sentient being, B, of use to society, and C, benefit to everybody? I don't see how it is. How's being a slave a benefit to people? It's slavery, and you can't not do it. Because if you think, I don't want to be a slave, well, you're doomed, because the whole slavery system is based around money, isn't it? Without money, you can't do anything. You think you can, but you can't do anything that you actually really need to do without money. You think, oh, no, I don't need money because I know somebody and they've got a caravan in Wales and I'll just let me go and have a holiday there. Yeah, but you've got to get fuel into your vehicle to get there, which means you need money, which means you need a business to provide it. Yeah? So you always are surrounded by businesses and you always need money. That's the trap. And the reason that they use currencies that have no value is so that you never have enough to be able to have a decent life. Unless you're in that tiny few who usually get there by embezzlement and lying and cheating. By the very actual attributes which aren't us. So when did we agree to this slavery? When did we agree that schools shouldn't look at children from the perspective of what they naturally can do, but instead should look at them from the perspective of what the state says they should be good at? So that when a child is crap at mathematics, which doesn't exist in nature anyway, we invented it, that they say, oh, the child's backwards. Oh, no, the child's, it's educationally sort of normal. We've got to put it back a year because he's not good at maths. No. That's not natural, that's not normal, that's not humane. Well, what is in a humane society, what is the child good at? Well, a child's really good at drawing, and they're really good at doing things with their hands. Okay, so we'll push them in that direction. We'll focus our education in that direction. But no, indoctrination only goes in one path. And if you don't fit along that path, or you stray from it, or you're not good enough to conform to the state's requirements, not society's requirements, then you're classed as less than less than normal, yes, which is a state that they define, and then you're put into special schools, aren't you? And it's a special indoctrination says, oh, well, you're not very good at maths, you've got to go to a special school because there's something wrong with your brain. Really? That's amazing, because some of the most of the greatest mechanics and architects in this world are crap at maths. They intuitively have the ability, they naturally have the skill. That's why we have people who are naturally good at mechanics, people who are naturally good at plumbing, people who are naturally good at accounts, people who are naturally good at making rocket ships, people who are naturally good at discovering diseases. It's a natural skill. I didn't learn it from a book. They weren't indoctrinated by a state or a business into a shoehorn way of thinking, and I know it all because you've been indoctrinated well enough. Well, I mean, that's another one, isn't it? They get the children into this ego and pride cycle and vanity thing, where if you read and recite, which is all you do really, because if you try to understand it, it's nonsense. If you read and recite well enough, we'll give you a good grade. Boost your ego. You're a good photocopier, yeah? You're not a very good photocopier. You're a terrible photocopier. And then by the time as you get up, you get higher up these imaginary grades, which are there basically to create division and segregation and psychological trauma in the child, because it's completely pointless in reality. Then you get all the way up. Especially in a child, it's completely pointless. If you actually were an adult and you left the indoctrination centres and then you went and did a course of something you actually wanted to do, you would succeed at it, and you'd be a lot better at it than if you were forced to do it in the indoctrination centres. Because they're not interested in what you can and can't do, they're interested in what you should be doing for business. And business is not a human system. So why are we slaves? And why are we taking it? Why are we accepting, oh yeah, I'm going to spend, that's why they call them occupations, you see, to occupy your time. So you can't do what you naturally want to do, what you naturally can do. You have to do something to something else. And the whole essence of it is sadistic and inhumane. You spend 50 years of your life working 10 to 12 hours. Some people are unlucky enough to be working 0-hour contracts and other horrible things. And the sole purpose of the pyramid of business is that the guy at the top, usually through embezzlement, but sometimes he doesn't have to, he just sits there, makes a fortune. I'm talking a huge sum of money out of off the backs of the labour of all the people down the bottom of the pyramid. Yeah? And you're at the bottom of the pyramid, you're the people doing the most work, and you get the less. You get least. The person at the top of the pyramid creams a huge fat wad of it off. And all the people down the bottom of the pyramid are irrelevant. It's a non-human system. They are irrelevant. Everybody's expendable except for the person at the top who's creaming it off and lining their own pockets. And they don't have to worry about having a state pension and having to think, oh, where am I going to find the money to pay the gas bill, because they've been leeching money off the backs of your labour for 50-odd years. Why is that a good idea? When do we think that was a good idea? When do we say, that's a great idea? Let's have 70% of the population unable to buy a packet of biscuits when they reach retirement age, which keeps increasing because they want to get more money out of people. When did we think this was humane, that this was sensible, that this was what human life is? This is what human life is now. It's not existence. It's not life, it's an existence. You're not a human doing anymore, you're a human being. Yeah? It's not going anywhere. We don't evolve, we devolve. Look at people's language. I mean, my goodness, we're controlled now by talking rectangular boxes. It's ridiculous. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Why do we want to be slaves? Why are we saying jog on? When we didn't have a monetary system, we weren't slaves. We invented we mapped star systems that we couldn't see with the eye in great detail. We mapped the entire solar system in great detail. We knew the rotations and orbits of all the planets. We knew what colour their atmospheres were, and we couldn't see them. We invented calendars that are so accurate, modern-day computers struggle to compete with them. Not just accurate for a week or a month, but for thousands and thousands of years in the future. The Mayans created a calendar that was 2,000 years, that went up for 2,000 years beyond their current time. For the sake of it, they did it for the fun of it. We can't do that now. They made buildings where the rocks are so close together you can't get a piece of paper through. And in the case of the insides of the Great Pyramids, they built these graphite blocks in irregular shapes in certain orientations, which we only recently discovered in the last sort of 20, 30 years, is to stop earthquakes from knocking them over. Because when the Japanese are experts at building earthquake-proof buildings, build these sort of things, they tend to use irregular. They know to use irregular shapes, irregular sections, because somehow it stops the waves, the wave energy. It dissipates it somehow. I don't know how it works. Very clever. We did that. We did all those sorts of things. We created phenomenal frescoes and sculptures and works of art, incredible philosophical works. And we had, and yes, and it wasn't a perfect life, obviously, but we were free. People worked together. People didn't care for race and gender. They just got on with it. We weren't rich. We weren't sitting on golden chairs because nothing had value. Because it doesn't in nature. We just took what we needed, replaced what we took when we could. So if we decided we were going to cut down a tree, we'd grow another one. We did it automatically because didn't want to destroy our environment. Because there was no profit in it. We couldn't possibly benefit from destroying our environment. And look at what we've got now. Now we're all slaves. The people above us, all the businesses, are all controlling us and manipulating us. They're destroying our environment. Because this, the irrelevance of money, the essence of the slavery system, the essence of our control, the essence of the very thing that takes away our freedom, that we voluntarily breed children into a society so they could be nothing but slaves. That's the reason they're doing it. If you've got any thoughts about why it is we seem to be living our lives as slaves, not as human beings, pop them down in the comments. And of course, don't forget, it's not reality, it's YouTube.